Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I have a everyday skin based video. This is kind of the skin makeup that I will wear every day. This might look like a lot of skin makeup to wear on an everyday basis, but I'm the type of person who will either wear full face or absolutely no makeup whatsoever. So this is what I will wear when I wear makeup. And I pretty much do wear makeup every day now. I did go through a phase where I didn't wear makeup for like a week and a half, which for me is insane. But I literally pretty much wear makeup every day now. So if you do want to see how to get really full coverage of flawless skin that lasts all day, just keep watching. So first of all, you would have seen this a million times on my channel if you've watched before. I'm going to use the Soap & Glory Speed Plump All Day Super Moisture Marvel. Always has the longest name. And I'm just going to literally moisturise my face with this. What I'm going to do is literally apply this to my face like you would any moisturiser. And I think the most important thing with a moisturiser is to make sure that it's soaked in before you put anything else on top, or it's just going to move everything on top if it's not fully soaked in. I've actually already done my eyebrows and my eyelashes and my eye makeup, everything like that already, because this is a skin based focus video. Skin focus. Does that make sense? You get what I mean. So moving on, my skin is not amazing when it comes to pores. Literally that is one thing I do suffer from the most. I always use this or any type of pore primer. I just feel like that's really important on my skin. So I always use a silicone based primer on my skin. This is my favourite primer out of all the primers I have. And this is the Benefit Professional. It says Pro Balm to minimise the appearance of pores, and I really do think this works. It really smooths out your skin. I just get a tiny dot like this and I just put it where I need it. So that is my nose for me, my chin, and just here. So moving on from that, the sun is literally out to play today. Like, it keeps coming in this room. So if it does keep changing lighting, I am sorry. I do have studio lights on me as well, but obviously I can't control the sun, unfortunately. So next on to foundation, I'm going to use one of these two because these are the two that I use on an everyday basis. So the first one is L'Oreal True Match, which you've seen a million times on my channel, I know. And the other one I use is the Maybelline Super Stay 24-hour full coverage foundation, like this. And this one is in the shade... See, I bought this the other day when I went shopping, and this is in the shade 40 Fawn. Now, I wouldn't say my skin is dark at all, it's just fake tanned. And this was the second to darkest shade, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I haven't really looked into the website to see whether they do sell dark shades. I will have a look and leave it down below. But if that is the second to darkest shade, that is ridiculous because that's so unfair on people with darker skin. So this is kind of the one I would use if I'm kind of a few days into fake tan and I'm a little bit lighter, and this is in the shade 3W Golden Beige. Now I do love this. However, I do actually prefer this one at the minute, which I know, shock horror, Megan's found a new favourite foundation. But this one is a lot more full coverage, I'd say, than this one, whereas I feel like you definitely need to build this up. So it does depend what you want on an everyday basis. I will just go full glam if I'm wearing makeup. This is a tiny bit lighter coverage, so it does depend what you want. I do like to blend my foundation in with a beauty blender. This just shears out the product a little bit, and it doesn't make it feel as cakey on your skin. And if I do want to use a brush at all, this is the one that I will use, and this is from Spectrum. I promise you, I cleaned this brush yesterday and it doesn't look like it because it gets so dirty. This is the B01 brush from Spectrum. I'll link all the brushes, all the products, everything down below, as I always do. Sometimes I will use the combination of them both, but the majority of the time I do just use my beauty blender. It depends how well it is blending into my skin. So, like I said, my foundation is in the shade 40 Fawn. This is just a mess, isn't it? I need to clean it. And I just put 2 pumps on each part of my face that I'm doing. So whether it's my cheeks, whether it's my forehead, I'll always use 2 pumps. And then I will just blend this in like so. And this is really full coverage. As you can see, literally look at the difference of that. So that is the side of foundation on. It's really full coverage and it just completely smooths out your skin. And this side, you can obviously see a lot more imperfections. Like I said, 2 pumps. Always do 2 pumps. I know that might sound a bit excessive, but that's just me. I'm extra. As you can see, the shade does match me quite well. And now my hands obviously do match. I'm just going to do my forehead. Oh, don't do that. I'm so glad that did not just go on my jumper. That could have gone terribly wrong. Right, let's actually blend this in before I get it everywhere. Now that my face all looks the same colour, I do concealer. Now I do normally use one of two. Once again, it's just depending what I want to wear, what foundation I've got on. If I'm a little bit more paler, then I will use my NARS concealer. This is the creamy concealer. As a cheaper alternative, which I am using at the minute and loving, I use the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Concealer. So as you can tell by this so far, I love a bit of full coverage. That's a bit of me. So I've got C4 and C5. To be honest, I just use whichever one I pick out of my drawer. I do prefer C5 just because it is a little bit more yellow tone. And I just apply this underneath my eye. For my concealer, I'm just going to use the same beauty blender and just blend this in. Much as I do love this concealer, I do feel like it can look a bit cakey underneath my eyes sometimes. Like today, I'm kind of getting that vibe from it. So, I mean, the NARS one is probably my favourite, but this is a good, cheaper alternative. On to powder. I love to powder my whole face just because I feel like it makes it last the longest. And I know I've said this about everything, but I do use one of two. So I either use the Beauty Bakery Flour Powder, which is kind of new for me, and this one's just in the shade Translucent, or I use my Laura Mercier Translucent Powder. Now this one is definitely my favourite for baking underneath my eyes because I feel like the Laura Mercier one can kind of cake up a bit underneath your eyes because I feel like this one is a lot more finely milled. Honestly, if I was to choose between the two, I think I probably would choose the Beauty Bakery one, and for that reason I'm going to use that one today. So all I do is I just tip them into the lid, and then I always bake underneath my eyes, especially if I'm using that concealer, just to ensure that it does not crease, and it also makes your under eyes so smooth. For baking underneath my eyes, I get another beauty blender. This is different to the other one. As you can see, I have two pots here that I keep them in. This one is dry, whereas the one I use for my foundation is wet. I just literally put this into the pot, and then I just put it underneath my eyes and just leave it there. If you have not seen baking before, it's kind of where you just set your concealer by leaving loads of powder there, just to ensure that your under eyes are really smooth and make sure that they will like literally not budge. I feel like it makes your concealer last so long. Once I've done underneath my eyes, I will just get a big fluffy brush, and this is the Spectrum AO1. This is my favourite powder brush. It is pretty big and it's really soft. Whatever powder is left in the lid now, I will literally just get on the brush, tap it off, and just pat this into my skin. I can wear this base and wear it out all day. Like, I wore my makeup the other day from, must have been about 7:30 in the morning till about 7 o'clock at night, and it still looked perfect. Obviously there was a bit of wear on it, but if it was on for like 12 hours, that's normal. But literally everything was still on perfectly, so it definitely does work. It's the best base that I've tried anyway. I remove the bake underneath my eyes as well, and I just use the Real Techniques contour brush for these. Now I do have a few of these in my collection, and it's just kind of all quite dense, so it just removes the powder really well. And then I will just go back over with the same powder brush that I used before, just to check it's all gone. And it just made the majority of a base makeup done. I can just see all the powder going in the air now. I just have bronzer and highlight to do, and contour and bronze. I kind of just do contour and bronze in one. I don't really do them separately. I just feel like, to be honest, I just like the overall warmness of the bronzer more than actually chiseling out my cheekbones. But obviously if you are adding warmth in certain areas of your face, just kind of make it contoured as well, so it kind of works in both ways, if that makes sense. So I'm using my makeup, what actually is this? I'll just say Makeup Forever Pro Bronze Fusion, that's the one. This is in the shade 25i, which is like 25 iridescent. It's in the shade Cinnamon. It's just got a tiny bit of sheen to it. It's not like glitter on your face, it's not really shiny on your face. It does look pretty matte, but it does have a tiny bit of sheen on it, and I just feel like it makes your face look really fresh. This is Spectrum A05, which is like an angled, I'm guessing that's probably what the A stands for, angled brush. Spectrum brushes are honestly my favourite. Their eye brushes and their skin brushes are just amazing. So all I'm going to do is just bronze with this, and this does take quite a lot of building because it is more of a natural bronzer. I wanted quite a natural bronzer. This could be the way forward for you, because if you just put a tiny bit on, it looks really natural. But if you go for it like me, you can build it up as well, so you kind of get the best of both with it. I don't get carried away all the time, because I end up with the face full of bronzer, and I've just done it now. Literally my life. I just get carried away because I love bronzer. I love loads of bronzer and loads of highlight, so you'll see that from me. Now, sometimes I feel like because I do wear quite a lot of tan, it's not really dark enough for me, that shade. So I actually bought this the other day, just in a bit of a whim. I thought, oh, I'll add it to my Superdrug order. It's just £1. Just see what it's like. So this is the MUA bronzer, and this is the Sunkissed bronzer. I don't know if there's one shade. I feel like there could just be one. But it says it's a soft tan bronzing powder that adds instant colour and definition. And this just looks like this. Now, it is quite a deep shade, so if you're pale, this is definitely not for you, because it will just look like a line on your face. I'll just take the tiniest bit of this, honestly not much at all. I'll either use this brush or I will use my Real Techniques, what even is this? Blush brush. I used to always use this for my bronzer. Maybe I'll just use this one to show you. And I'll just add the tiniest bit to add a little bit of depth to my cheeks. Like so. Because I feel like sometimes the two tones can just add a bit of depth. But obviously take my NYX matte finish setting spray, and even though this is matte finish, I don't feel like it makes my face really matte because I like quite a dewy base. Sprays everywhere. And then apply highlight. I just feel like doing it that way just makes your highlight pop. So I'm going to take my iconic illuminator in the shade Original, literally my favourite thing. Still is, and it has been for a long time. And I'm going to take my beauty blender, the one that I use for my foundation, and I'm literally just going to pat this into my skin like so. And try and make sure that it's blended so it doesn't look like a stripe. Now if you add too much like me on this side, I don't know what we're going to do. Just try and blend it out as much as you can. A highlight that I've already done, like I said, I'm extra. So I like to add some more on top. I take the Glow Kit by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and this is in Sun Dipped. Now you do is take a mix of this tourmaline and moonstone, because that's what I just like taking at the minute. And I do add a lot more of this shade just because when I'm tanned I don't want it to look too pale. And I just apply this with my Real Techniques setting brush. I literally never use the brushes for what they're actually made for, because you know. That is also what I have underneath my brow bone, in case any of you were wondering, but I actually use the shade Summer, which is the lightest one in this palette. A tiny bit on top of my Cupid's bow, if I actually stop talking so I can do that. And that just makes your lips look a lot bigger. So I finished underneath my eyes and my lips, and this is the final look. I just find that this skin makeup looks insane and it stays for such a long time. Like I said, this is so full coverage. I'll leave all the products I use down below in case you want to try some new ones out. It is kind of a mix between drugstore and high-end, so it's kind of a bit for everyone. But if you did enjoy this video, I'd love it if you could give a big thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I will see you guys next week for a new video. Bye dolls!